How true to yourself are you in the way that you live your life? Have you ever gone through life wondering, what if I did things this way instead? What if I replied to this person this way instead? Or I did that instead of the actions I actually did? What if I told you this very life that we're living in is a whole set of dualities or even a multiverse, where every action, every word spoken leads to a different outcome? How would things be different if only we did what we had in our mind, as opposed to doing or saying as other people would want us to do or to say? Welcome to my channel Inspire at Random, and in this channel I talk about manifestation and how to make our hopes and dreams a reality that not only us but the people that we love and care about can enjoy and partake in as well. Many of my foreign acquaintances and work counterparts are often surprised when I tell them I'm from Singapore. They will say, but you don't speak anything like a Singaporean. I don't speak neither English nor Chinese like most Singaporeans would. So I would often ask them back, is it a good thing or a bad thing? More often than not, people would tell me, thank goodness, because if you spoke the way most Singaporeans speak, it would take me a longer time for me to understand what you're speaking. The reason for that is most Singaporeans, they speak really quickly and in an intonation that is so peculiar because it is a mishmash of Chinese dialects, Malay, Tamil even, Singlish. And when I speak in Mandarin, a lot of people compare the way I speak to someone from Beijing. I recently heard behind my back, two of my cousins told my mom, why doesn't he speak naturally? Why does he have to speak in this way? When my mom was going on about that, my kids were listening in, they were like, my kids were incredulous, but daddy has been speaking in this way as long as I can remember. The way Singaporeans speak is pretty much Singlish. My kids do not speak that way either because as soon as they were school-going age, I put them into private school here in Thailand. By now, you know, almost in every video, I'll always make some anecdote concerning my mom. And my mom was like, oh, your cousins are right. You should speak naturally. Then again, not having lived in Singapore for like 8 years, this is natural to me. And more than that, this reminds me of a time in primary school, math class, when I had the correct answer because we were asked to review our answers among the table before we presented it to the teacher. Everyone else insisted that I change it to theirs. And that question, I remembered, what is the result? 0 times 10. They didn't believe the answer was 0. It's funny how at that time, 6 or 7-year-old kids gaslighting me to say their answer. But I refused. They said things like, he's never wrong. If he says it's this. Oh, I second that. He's never wrong. But I'm like, what the heck? 0 times 10 is 0. Needless to say, I wasn't a very popular kid for the rest of grade school. So the point of me saying embrace the version of yourself that you've only been vicariously living in your head is because every moment that you're not living the way that you conceived in your head, but instead living in a way that you feel would make other people around you happy in a way that they will accept, you are denying yourself an opportunity to find out how life could have turned out differently had you followed your heart. When I was educating my son about this topic about speaking naturally, in fact, among my kids, this is now like a catchphrase. Nothing personal against people who love the way Singlish sounds. It's more like something personal against all those people that expect you to just stay in line, fit in. Do not stick out like a sore thumb. Do not be too obvious. But if you think about it, if you were doing an audition, you were doing a recruitment, you were doing an interview, you're trying to find a dynamic individual, would you pick a person who is indecipherable from everyone else? No, you would pick from a handful of people who stand out because they have the dynamism, they dare to be different, they are bold, they are true to themselves, they follow their heart, and you know what? Honest. If you've ever been to Tokyo, I encourage you to take notice of is how demure women are in particular, but the men as well. They're so polite. But if you walk on the streets at 1 a.m., the same polite sounding people who speak like everyone else, That's when you see the true colors emerge. A few beers and sakes later, liberated from this uniformity, speaking out, acting out, really entertaining. How the streets are full of litter in the wee hours compared to spick and span in the rest of the day. Studies have shown people who embrace themselves, who do not have emotional hang-ups, who are living the life in the way that they want, have a better quality of life, and this can be measured by health markers. Their stress levels are much less, their cholesterol levels are much less, they're much less likely to be obese, much less likely to show signs of premature aging, much less likely to have heart disease, memory skills are better, and it's not difficult to imagine why that is, because if someone is living true to their inner purpose, what their soul desires, then what's there to regret? What's there to feel guilty about? Because if you regret not doing stuff and you feel guilt thereafter, you're creating a jail for yourself. You're being imprisoned by people's expectations, also being guilt-tripped by not being true to your desires, constantly living in the what if and what could have been, and that's not life. I was just telling my mom the other day that I'm kind of thankful that you're my mom, because of all these absolutes that you throw at me when I know that reality is not the case. Whenever you say I shouldn't do something or something cannot be done, I would just go out and do the opposite. I would just want to prove you wrong. This has been my stance with a lot of things. So the more people say something cannot be done, the more I want to go out there and prove that I can do it. Of course, I've also come to realize that it's not always just about proving people wrong. I'm not going to go out of my purpose in life to do something that I didn't mean to do. It's more like, this is my goal, nothing in between is going to stop me from it. Even if it was walls after walls after walls, I'm just going to bulldoze through everything like Juggernaut on X-Men. Thank you for staying with me on my video. If you've come this far, I would like you to make a challenge, a little commitment, take a bit of risk, do something different. Specifically, I have a video of a daily 5-minute routine. The last one involves writing out a bunch of steps of inspired actions you feel that you want to do. Out of these things that you come up with, pick the one that has the most challenge or the most risk, that makes you push your boundaries and comfort zone. This is what helps you to shift your self-concept. The higher your self-concept goes, you are capable of bigger and better things. You will no longer be the same version of yourself that was getting lesser results, lesser happiness, because at every level that you climb, things only get better. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I also want to remind you, as you do something differently, before you get to find out, the reason why a lot of people are stuck in their old ways is because they're just so used to it. They don't really entertain that a different way could be better or more efficient. When most people try new things, they often start to compare, oh, if I did it the old way, I would be here by now. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of adjustment and tuning. Sometimes we find ourselves at a challenge because we haven't been used to having to learn something for quite some time. Once you do the new thing once over, twice over, you start to notice that this new approach is more efficient than the old one. And what was really the obstacle is just your resistance to change. Not the new approach itself, but your resistance to change. Let me know in the comments down below, what little risk, what little challenge did you approach in a different way today? How did it work out for you? For another video, watch this one over here. Also check out my group Inspire at Random down here in the pinned comment. I look forward to catching up with you inside of my manifestation community. Let's make this your best year.